What a nice day for a change.
Oh, we got a good one. I'm a little farther south today. And we had rain last night and it's supposed to rain again.
Well, yesterday I was in Tennessee, so I was a little further than you.
Oh, that's where you went to get good weather.
Yeah, no, actually, it rained just a little bit, but it was really hot.
Oh, yeah.
But wasn't bad today. Wasn't a bad day today.
Okay, great. Looking through the list, I'm gonna ask, oh, are they gone? Huh. I guess they're gone. Now I'll change. Melissa, I'm gonna make you co-host.
Hey, Becky, I have a question.
Yeah,
Can you hear anything in the background?
no.
You can't?
Well, all I can hear is the dog in where I am.
Okay,
Can
I'm
you
sitting
hear
right in
the
front of the air
dog?
conditioner so that, I can enjoy
Oh,
the air
no, I don't
conditioning,
hear the
so-
air conditioner.
Okay,
Can,
perfect.
okay, you're the co-host. I'm just gonna go grab one more charger. I'll be right back.
Okay.
1 second. Oh, I got it.
With your back, Becky, with your back to the window, we can't see your beautiful face.
I will slide around.
Yeah, well, you can put the blinds down if there are any.
Well, that's an idea. But I don't know where the lights are.
Oh, sorry.
So that won't help. Okay. I know I look like the shadow.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, that's perfect. That's better.
okay. Oh, well, almost. There. A little better. Ooh. There we go.
Better.
Select board, I just want to be sure everybody got the updated agenda.
Yes, I did.
Okay, good.
I did.
Yep.
Great.
So Becky, are you starting this meeting because we
Yes.
are?
I'm sorry. I'm
Okay.
not accustomed. Good evening, everyone. The select board will be doing their reorganization of officers tonight. So I am opening the meeting. It is now 7:31. So we'll bring this meeting into session. I think we still have to do a roll call vote. That doesn't make sense. Yes, it does. Yeah, so we'll do a roll call vote of the select board, starting usually with Rita.
Okay, so that's to go into session, is that correct?
Yes, just to go into session.
Okay, so I move that we go into, or you've moved that we go into session, and I say aye.
Or so moved.
So moved.
Yeah, and I'll second that.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. So the first order of business
And we
tonight,
should vote, right? Shouldn't we vote before we go to the order of business, just technically?
to go
No?
into session, we just did.
All right, okay.
I think
we
we
vote?
just,
I don't think we voted. We just moved it and seconded it.
you're correct. Oh, boy, I haven't been a chair for 30 years. It's showing.
I know, you're forgetting. Stalker eye.
Thank you.
Make peace O'Neill, I.
Farrell, I.
Wonderful. So the first question I have is there, do I hear any nominations for chair of the select board?
I will nominate Rita Farrell for a chair of select board.
Okay. Rita, do you have?
I have a nomination.
Okay, okay. Any more nominations?
Yeah, I
Well-
nominate Melissa.
Okay.
I nominate both of you. How's that?
That's cute.
Well,
then I
there,
have an idea.
what is
may-
your idea, Melissa?
Maybe this year we do something a little different and we do co-chairs for the select board.
That's, we've done that before and it worked out well. Rita, how do you feel about that?
If Melissa's willing to co-chair, I would co-chair. Because of family obligations and traveling I'm planning on doing this year, I just couldn't take it on by myself.
Okay. That being the case, do I hear a motion to nominate Melissa and Rita both as co-chairs?
So moved.
Thank you.
I
And
guess
I will-
one of us have
I'll
to
second.
it.
Now we have a second. All right, so we have a motion for Rita Farrell and Melissa Makepeace to be co-chairs of the select board. And we have a second. And now I would like to take that to a vote, a roll call vote of the select board. We'll start alphabetically. Rita,
Farrell, I.
Melissa,
I,
and Eric.
Aye.
We have a unanimous vote. That being the case and being co-chairs, who would like to chair the meeting tonight? Or I guess you guys decide together.
Right.
so I have a thought to Rita, thinking co-chairs. We're gonna have to team some stuff, so we probably should figure that out at some point soon. How to divvy up the tasks that need to be done. I know you're already embroiled in a few things and there's other things that need to be handled. So, we probably should sit down and maybe have a select board working group discussion, like a session, so with Eric, and we can figure out how to share the work among us.
Okay, and
Does that work, Rita?
Yeah, that works for me. That's a great idea.
Yeah,
I mean, I've been
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that as I contemplated whether or not I could take on being sole chairperson this coming year. But I think sharing the responsibility and then, dividing up, because it's really more than, I think, one person. It's a lot of work. So I think some sort of a select board working session is a great idea. I believe it's been done in the past, if I'm not
yes,
mistaken. Yeah,
it's very legitimate. And I don't know if you might, what day, maybe an upcoming Saturday pretty soon would be a good time for that. Melissa, Rita, Eric? Or
yeah.
because,
I'd have to
Melissa
just,
works full time.
okay. Let me take a look at my schedule, and then do you
Me
want
too.
us to send you some times, Becky, that would work for us? And
Yes,
Eric,
and
is
it's
that
not
for you, Melissa?
restricted to Saturdays. It can be in the evening too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. And I would suggest doing it in person if we can.
I
Yes.
would.
If everybody's comfortable with that.
Yes, at town hall. And even though it's a working session, yeah, we can do that at the basement of town hall.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, I'll throw out a few dates and then maybe Becky, you can send out some sort of a, an email to folks.
For the scheduling summary. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Happy-
As I was thinking, and it sounds like, Rita, you had some thoughts too. Eric, I know, that working more as a team may be a little bit different with than a, individual, a little slightly different than our other committees in that we can form a different team to divide tasks among ourselves in a way that none of the three of us feel overwhelmed, with our personal lives and doing this. So,
Yeah, that's great.
all right.
Melissa, since I've been chairing now for 2 years straight, do you want to take on tonight?
I will take on tonight.
Okay.
All right.
Can I just say too, I'd like to thank Rita for being the chair last year.
Oh, yeah,
It was a very
definitely.
tough year for, I think for the town and whatever, a lot of tough meetings, and you were up to the task, which is fantastic. And I thank you.
Thanks.
I thank you very much
I
as well.
second that. I second that. It was a good year and great leadership, Rita.
Thank you.
All right, so we'll move on with our agenda. I gotta put it up on my screen. So we've had our election officers reviewing the agenda. It did slightly change from earlier in the week, so we have public comment, traffic unit and update on culvert detours from our police chief, ZBA appointment of John Thompson as an alternate, review the minutes of June 6th, 2023, select board vote on year-end transfer, update on the fire station test and next steps, and town administrator updates, looks like a focus on the culvert and PFAS, and then anything else she thinks we need to be updated on. And then anything we haven't reasonably anticipated. So how does that sound, Rita and Eric?
That's good.
It sounds good to me, but I was just wondering, since John's here, do we want to try to, John's, I assume fairly quick. We want to do that earlier, just so he doesn't have to listen to all of us blabbing about whatever we're talking about. Just we don't have to.
Okay, well, let's do public comment. Rita, are you okay with bringing John forward a little bit in our
Sure, if
agenda?
that's what John wants.
John, is that what you would like? Okay, or would you mind? Okay, Rita, I'm sorry, Becky.
Melissa, I just wanted to flag, I know because of the trouble I had with the list, the minutes of June 6th were received very late, and I just want to confirm with the select board they're okay with proceeding on them tonight.
How do we feel about that? Becky, you were gonna send me something on a set of minutes and I didn't get it. Was that?
Yeah, I did not
That's
get,
the- That's
didn't get
the
those, I
June
don't think.
20th, so it's okay.
Eric, what did you say?
I don't think I got the June 6 ones. That may be when did they go out? Did I miss that?
Just this afternoon, so
Oh,
it's,
okay. Well, I was just in the dentist chair instead. That's more fun.
Shall we, how do we feel about putting these on the next agenda then, since the review, is that Rita?
Yeah, why don't we move them since they're not complete with all the attendees. Yeah,
Okay.
I think, and Eric hasn't seen them. I did look at them, but they were really long. So I think
Okay,
it'd be good to move them.
okay, thank you.
okay, so that we'll send that to the next agenda, which is the first, Becky, I think, right?
Yes, August 1st.
Okay, oh my goodness. All right, let's move on to public comment. I see Meryl and Joyce. Go ahead, Meryl.
Thank you. I just wanted to mention that my husband, Stephen Smolsky, sent a letter to the select board regarding potentially scary situation on the gravel portion of Wendell Road being used as the detour, and some of the people who had been driving pretty fast on it and seemingly not very safely. And I understand that since that time, the police chief has Kristen has taken over going onto the road multiple times a day, as well as posting a couple of signs. And I just really want to thank you, Chief Burgess, for doing that. It's an accident waiting to happen, literally. That people are just driving on that road like it's a paved road, and it's not. And there are a lot of spots where it's just single lanes. So keep up the patrolling, if you would. And I appreciate having the signs up. I think it will be a lot safer for people. So thank you. Just wanted to recognize that.
Thank you, Meryl.
Mm-hmm.
Joyce?
Hi, I have something to say that I was going to say when it was going to be a joint meeting with Concom, and since they're not here, I decided I would say it for the purpose, for the public record anyway. And hopefully the select board will encourage the Conservation Commission to do this. So it's written, and I'll be sending it as an email to both the commission and the select board.
Thank you.
So I would like to second the suggestion made by a resident at the Conservation Commission's draft regulation public hearing held last week for a series of meetings in which the Conservation Commission specifically and thoroughly goes through the draft regulations and gives explanations, intentions, justifications, implications, and examples. Seems a very fair thing to ask for in service of the town. If the draft is not organized in a way that this could be done, I ask why not? If the intention is to create clear and consistent standards and process that residents can understand and follow, this needs to be reflected in the document. Even a legal document can be summarized in English and should be, again, in service of town residents. A complete, specific explanation, section by section of the draft with public comment is warranted by the impact it would have on the community. The residents of Shutesbury deserve that respect. The Conservation Commission seems to believe that new regulations should be instituted even before the town is given the opportunity to vote on updated bylaws. First, I will state that no one I know has any argument with the need for an updated bylaw and regulations that allow that bylaw to be instituted and enforced. But these should be legal, reasonable, with clear and consistent guidelines for residents, and done in cooperation with both the town elected members of the select board and with the town administrator. This has not happened. The public hearing was unsatisfactory. It was general in scope, and when specific questions were asked, answers were either "I don't know" or "we didn't think about that." It is long, and in my opinion, overly so because of its cut and paste nature. But if someone is putting forth a document into the public domain like that, they should be very familiar with each part, what it means, and the consequences. I attended a meeting about a month before when the draft was introduced and explained in a preliminary way. And at that time, none of the other commissioners, when asked, other than the chair, had done more than skim through it, which to me means that no one else on the commission was involved in its creation. There are at least 2 other commission members who have real wetland and conservation education and experience. I question why they would not have been involved in the creation of such an important document. And if it was a matter of time, I ask, as others have, what's the rush? So that is the complete.
Thank you, Joyce.
My partner, Jan, also has something to say. It's very brief. Can she also speak? She's right here. She's on the same computer.
Good.
The Melissa?
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't speak up.
All right.
Okay, I'm Janice Rowan, also at 55 Lake Drive. I read through the draft regulations, and my reading is that the Concom is granting itself power of the purse, full indemnity from errors, and the right to exclude, deny, and punish at will by being so flexible or not, as the case may be, when they implement the regulations. And if that reading is wrong, or if it's right, it would seem to me that that needs to be addressed, because that's what I saw in these regulations.
Thank you, Jan. Gail and Mark.
I'm disappointed that Concom has canceled its attendance at tonight's select board meeting. I had prepared a statement for the record, and I will save that for the next scheduled joint meeting. But tonight's cancellation only compounds my distress at seeing unnecessary conflict within our town's governance. Thank you.
Thank you, Gail. Mark?
To comment on Joyce's comments. This is an important document, and one of my concerns is that these meetings are only held by Zoom. And I know residents in the wetland areas and that don't have access to this technology. So I'm proposing that meetings be a hybrid meeting where people in person who don't have access to a computer or to the internet can participate.
Thank
That's
you.
it.
Thank you, Mark. Okay.
I want to raise my hand, but I don't know how. Where is it?
Oh.
Hi.
Joseph?
Yeah, I couldn't figure out where the hand was on this, but thank you for letting me. Can I talk?
Go ahead.
Yeah.
I've been listening to meetings, select board, all of them. And it feels, my own opinion is, I don't feel like the conservation is totally on the entire town when they're making their regs. I think the regs, what I feel, is being more geared up for the smart solar people, because she's had the lawyers on for it, versus just the general public. Because the rules I feel that are being put in are being so strict to stop solar, but they affect the average builder or the average homeowner for the small projects. And that's just my opinion from what I've been seeing with these committees. So that's my concern. I just wish it was, they figure out a way so it works for everybody in the town. And I think the select board, I want to give you, I think you're doing a great job. And I think the DPW is doing a great job. So that's me. That's it. Bye.
Thank you, Joseph. We have we had scheduled to 5:48. Does the other select board members, if we take two more comments, Mary Lou and Mary, and then move on to the next agenda item, Eric and Rita, does that
Sure.
go?
I'm good with that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Mary
Thanks.
Lou, thank you, Eric. Mary Lou?
Hi, yes, Mary Lou Conca. I'm not really quite sure what's happening, the back and forth again at this evening's meeting. And the discussion of a resident, okay, the discussion that's going on, I would like to just add to the resident Jan Rowan. I'm a little confused by what was meant by punish at will. I mean, that just sounds, and with the Concom not here, this all sounding like a bit of a like is making me very anxious,
Mary Lou,
I
we're
think the
hearing,
Concom should be able to be here so that they can speak to what is being said. That's all. Thank you, Melissa.
we don't usually comment, Mary Lou. I'm just gonna say this is public comment. So these are just public comments coming to the select board. So it's not an agenda item beyond that currently.
Right.
In our discussion.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Mary David, and then we'll move on.
Yes, hi. I just wanted to clarify, the request for the COMCOM to come to this meeting was made on a later basis. It wasn't made a long time in advance. And we were not able to come because we didn't have a quorum. We have people on vacation and we would not have been able to get a quorum here to attend this meeting. That's why the COMCOM is not here today.
Thank you, Mary. Okay, the next agenda item is let's move on to John Thompson real quick, and then we'll go on to police chief for the traffic unit. Becky, do you want to bring us up to speed real quick? We know that Tom has volunteered to be an alternate on our zoning board of appeals.
And Jeff Lacy has brought, Jeff Lacy is the current chair of ZBA, and he has brought forth this nomination from the whole ZBA. John, I know has served, was it 30 years, John? Could it have been that long? But I know John has major experience in Shutesbury on the ZBA, and we're very grateful to him for putting his name out to the select board at this time.
Should I
John?
say a quick, give you a quick bio?
Please.
Introduce yourself.
I'm John Thompson and I live on Pelham Hill Road. I've lived on Pelham Hill Road for 37 years. We live in a house, my wife Beth and I, that we built ourselves. I'm a retired builder. I worked for 40 years as a carpenter and a custom home builder. I served on the Shutesbury Planning Board for 15 years, 7 of those years as the chair. I got off the planning board and was just running my business for a while and had to bring a case before the ZBA. And Chuck Damari was the chair at the time. And about 6 or 8 months after I had that case before the board, Chuck ran into me at Whole Foods and said, well, you know, John, you'd be a good member of the ZBA. So that was the beginning of that. And I served on that board for 10 years. And actually, a builder's perspective on that board, I found to be pretty valuable. I've been retired from my building business for about 11 years. And in that time, I've been working for the town of Amherst as a building inspector and a health inspector, and I'm their chief zoning enforcement officer. I'm about to retire from that position, and that's what gives me a little bit of time available to come back into service for the town of Shutesbury. So I was happy to be asked. It was before I knew that Jeff might be leaving his position, but nevertheless, still happy to serve.
So,
Thank you, John. Rita?
yeah, I was just going to make a motion to appoint John Thompson as the alternate member to the zoning board of appeals.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Farrell, aye.
Stalker, aye.
Makepeace O'Neill, aye. Thank you, John, for volunteering.
Thanks,
We
John.
have a winner, huh?
Thank you.
It's just that easy.
All right. On to Kristen, Chief Kristen. Would you like to bring us up to speed on the traffic?
Speed is the operative word.
Yeah, and
So-
on culvert detours. I haven't driven down it in a couple of days. I did.
If it's okay with the select board, can I talk about the traffic control officer portion first, and then we can get to the more hefty talk of Wendell Road, because the first one will be much quicker.
Sure, you do.
Okay. Okay, fantastic. So I just wanted to start a conversation. There are by no means any decisions that are being made today or asked to be made today. With the serious decline of police officers across the nation, but also particularly in the Commonwealth, a lot of towns are finding it difficult to have the details, the road jobs, what we're seeing so many of in Shutesbury right now when there's tree work or line work to be done. We're finding it very difficult to fill those positions of traffic officer, police officer, or flagger. And during that, other towns have thought to start their own traffic control unit, which opens a really beautiful idea of having people, residents from the town they're in, actually work on those road jobs after they've gone through proper training through Mass DOT and things of that nature, to start working as a traffic control unit. I would like to start thinking about this, doing some research on it. I have some great thoughts on it. I have some concerns on it. I shared with Becky a little bit some of the concerns I have. But I want to know if it's okay if we sort of start thinking about this as a potential option for the future, as we see a decline in having people be able to do this. Now, we can hire flaggers from other companies to do the job, but if we're going to do that, why not hire residents from our own town that potentially retired, looking for work and that sort of thing. So if you say yes, we can sort of start talking about this. I'd love to. And then I would love it if I could have a select board member and Becky's ear for a lot of it to bounce some ideas to see if it makes sense to move forward.
I think it's a good idea. I know there's other communities in the area that have thought about this. I think South Hadley was one of them. I don't know how far they've gotten.
Yeah, one of the situations at hand is the Post Commission, which you've heard from me now for, a couple of years. The new reform bill, it states that even retired police officers have to go through a flagging program if they want to be on the road conducting traffic for these sort of road jobs or details. So even they have to go through it as well if we want to continue using retired police officers. So if it's okay, I'd like to just sort of start throwing some ideas forward, getting people's opinions, and researching this a little bit more to see what other communities have done and how they are dealing with the flow of that.
Rita or Eric, do you have any thoughts in that direction?
I think it's a good idea. One of the questions, of course, is what will it cost? I always ask that question, it seems,
Right.
but,
So actually,
that's one of the things I wonder about. But other than that, I think it's a fantastic idea.
Right. So the pay that the officers get would be the same as the traffic control unit person. Civilian, they'd get paid by the company through us. But there are a few other sort of little things I'm thinking about. I've bounced them off Becky already as far as personnel issues and things like that. So right now I'm sort of like at a pro and con list is what I'm developing.
Right. I think that's great. I would
Yeah.
we should just know what it's going to cost. I'm sure it'll cost us something. I'm not saying that means we shouldn't do it at all. I'm not suggesting that for a second, but just that should be considered. That's all.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm fine with the idea, but my understanding was that when, like now, those officers who are on the road are actually paid by the establishment that's doing the work, right? It's
That's
not
correct.
Shutesbury.
That's correct. So what happens is I bill personally myself. I do the administrative work for that and bill the company for the hours that the officers have been out there. The company then turns around, cuts a check. I then submit that check to Ryan and letting him know who gets what portion of that with a copy of the invoice, and it gets distributed to them in that fashion.
Okay. Yeah, and I just have one quick question. So does the town get any cut on that for the administrative work that you're doing?
There is oftentimes an administrative fee, and that gets submitted as well.
Okay.
It's 10%.
Right. It doesn't always get submitted, I should say that, because if it's a state contracted job, we're unable to apply that fee. So it doesn't always happen, but.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I
so
say go ahead.
Can I have a volunteer to let me throw things at?
Rita, you have your plate full. I don't mind adding this to mine.
Okay, thank you.
Unless Eric, you wanted to.
I
Okay,
love getting
great.
things thrown at me, but no, whatever. That's fine. If you want to do it, that's fine. That's fine. But I'm glad to be your backup or whatever.
Beautiful.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Eric.
Okay, on to the really prevalent issue at hand, Wendell Dirt Road. I think I have been on that road. First, I want to say, Meryl, thank you so much for acknowledging the work that we're trying to do. I am recognizing that there are definitely issues. I've been in constant contact with Becky, Rita, Tim, and I have been working very closely through this as well. I noticed that I myself, once I received complaints, I was able to go out, assess the situation, and agreed with the parties that called in. We had a serious problem. Once I put out the town announce, things got a little bit better. I got excited. I put the cart before the horse and got a little excited. Today we ran back into some more issues. I have out of the 100% of people that I have stopped, and I've stopped quite a few, and I don't mean a regular traffic stop, I've initiated a conversation with people on the roadway, asking them to do me a favor and just slow down. 20 or under is really all that road can take. And people have been very willing to listen and to comply and to understand the issue. I'm sorry to say a little over half of those people were actually residents of Shutesbury. But here I get it, because what's happening right now is we're asking a lot. We've cut people's travel time, you know, or we've added to their travel time potentially. And we are still getting used to that travel time. We as the department is still getting used to how long it takes us to get to the lake for emergent situations. I get it. We're asking a lot. Then you add on top of that the road details where you might be paused at, and you know, people, we as human beings we're just trying to get where we're trying to get. To combat the issue and to raise a little bit more awareness, as Meryl stated, I did meet with Tim and the highway department today to try and figure out, put our brains together and figure out what we can do. We added some more signs. We added a thickly settled sign on either end of Wendell Dirt Road. We're also going to put up some speed signs, temporary speed signs. They will be 20 miles an hour. No one has 15 anywhere. If I had my way, it would be 5.
Christine, can I just jump in on the signs? Is it
Yes.
possible to get a sign at the top or the bottom of the road that says two-way traffic so people know it's two-way traffic? And they're not
Yes.
one way? Okay.
Yes, we definitely can do that. However, there's one portion of the road that is, you know, one-way traffic, you know, one vehicle, one lane road is what I was trying to say. Sorry, it's been a long couple of days. We also got curve ahead signs, rough road signs. And we, as I said, we have that one lane road sign. I have Devin out there right now, taking turns going up and down the road to assess it. It seems we have more of a problem, and the residents are telling me it's more of a problem the morning and then the afternoon. And, you know, people going to the lake and such, although there hasn't been that many. The last idea that we have, if this does not work, Tim and I would like to put out a closed to through traffic for that road. The problem is, so first, highway has been doing an incredible job. They really are just chasing themselves around with the storms that we've had, the inclement weather that we've had, the tons of rain that we've had. The roadway is going to become eroded on the sides, and they're really doing their best. The road itself is not in terrible shape right now, as far as I'm concerned. It just can't handle that amount of traffic. It really is just not capable of handling that excessive amount of traffic. So if this doesn't work, I think we're going to have it closed to through traffic. Residents will know what to do. Local residents will know, you know, what that means. And hopefully that will deter people from out of town. Now, the people from out of town, I met 3 today that told me they were lost. So, they followed me on out. So that's what we're kind of doing. Each shift is taking at least 4 round trips on that road. So today myself, I think I was there 5 times up and down the road. So that's there and back is 1. And each shift is handling that as well, just to sort of slow everybody down. I actually asked everyone to pull over today, 4 cars that were entering Wendell Road. I went past them and I became the leader so that everyone would go slow, and I set the pace. And we can't be there every minute though. So
We can try to do the best we can.
we're trying, we really are. So I do want to add this. I stopped by Morse Hill today and I was speaking with them. I was actually talking to them about something completely different, and they raised my awareness to a situation that happened that frightened me hearing it. And that was that they took a van load of their children from the camp. And they had attached their bicycles to the van, and they went down Wendell Road, where they were going to take it, I think, to the DCR property to do their bike ride. They were run off the road by a truck, and luckily the children were not injured at all, but some of the bikes were damaged because of that. So now we're really getting into the idea of buses, van loads of young people. And so now we really just need to be very focused on that. I'm open for ideas on other ways we can combat this. I'd like to see what the next couple of days brings with the new signage. I'd like to speak to some of the residents and get their opinion on how they feel it's happening, particularly the houses that are closer to the road. So if we could hang in there for the next couple of days and then potentially go back at it again if we need to.
Thank you, Kristen. Rita or Eric, I see a couple hands. Do you mind if we take a couple public comments? Sorry, about 2 minutes early.
No, that's fine, thanks.
Meryl?
Thank you. Just a couple of things, and I really appreciate everything the Highway Department and Kristen, you're doing. I want to just say that the close to through traffic sign, I think is not, and just so that you know, I worked for Mass DOT. I am a transportation planner and engineer, pseudo engineer. I say Bailey Civil, and the close to through traffic signs I don't think are a good idea, because I think they send the wrong message, because the other roadway truly is closed. You can't go past Locks Pond Road, the bottom there, past Lakeview, because of the construction. So people have to know there is another way to go, and it sends a misleading message. I do think, though, the signs that you could put up would be, there are a few places where the road really necks down to one lane. And before those areas, to post signs that say one lane road ahead, beware one, something like that, beware one lane road ahead.
Mary, we have
Those would
one.
be
Where are you
helpful.
thinking for that? We have one. Where are you thinking for the rest of them? Or we have two,
Well,
actually,
near,
coming from both.
yeah, near the Janowitz property.
Yep.
Yeah, and then going down the gravel road from the paved portion of Winter Road, sort of when you get towards the bottom of the hill, the road just gets really narrow there. And if you just ride the road, I think you will see the spots where it's particularly narrow, and that would be a good place to put those signs up. And I would also just encourage you to keep your presence out there. I think that makes a huge difference. And I'm aware you can't post a gravel road, so that's kind of a drag, but the monitoring is probably going to be your best tool to
Meryl,
really slow people down.
That's so helpful, and it's actually super easy. I know we have more one lane signs back at the highway, so I will get to that first thing tomorrow.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Someone else had their hand up. I see Becky's.
Jeff
Jeff, is that
did.
yours? Yeah.
Yeah, I have my hand up, hand up.
Okay.
But Meryl made the point I was going to make, that
Okay.
you can't really post and enforce a speed limit on a gravel road. And probably important that town residents understand that, because maybe they're wondering why you're not out there giving tickets.
Well, we can. Time out, we can. We absolutely can give citations, and the officers have been instructed to remember the law that we have, greater than reasonable. That's the state minimum, so it's $105 citation. I'm trying not to do that. Typical of me, always trying to reason with people, but we can enforce. It's greater than reasonable, and that would be on discretion of ours.
But if they want you to put out a 20-mile-an-hour speed and actually enforce that, you really can't do it. And that was
right
that was Meryl's point, and that was what the point I was going to make. So I put my hand down.
Right, so the law states that during a time of temporary closure or temporary adjustment of the road, you can put out the suggestion, which is what I've been doing. So it's a suggestion of 20 because it's not posted in the way that it should be legally posted. It's with another orange sign giving us the ability to temporarily do that.
Becky, your hand was up too. Rita.
Yeah. I was only gonna say, Kristen, I thought that email was really excellent that you sent out, and thank you for, following up with getting patrols down there. Maybe regular communication from you through town announce would be good, just an update, so that it's not just that one email, but people continue to hear from you.
Sure.
Would be really good.
Sure.
Please,
Are we thinking maybe once a week or twice a week?
Yeah, I think I don't know, once a week for me seems like it would be adequate.
Okay, I'm absolutely happy to do that. And also anyone that's listening, send me an email with your thoughts. All thoughts are being taken into consideration. It's always stressful on the community as a whole when we do major changes like this. And this is a major change for a very visited area of town. So we're recognizing that, and we're trying to make sure that we're really just educating people more than anything.
Penny, I see your hand, and then we're going to move on, I think.
I just have a quick, very basic question, which is there an estimate as to how long the project might take? 2 months. 2 months. Is that the 2 months from August 1st? So we have quite a ways to go. Okay, that's helpful to know. Thank you.
Okay. All right, we will move on to Kristen. Thank you very much for all of that great information. Hang on, I gotta click on my agenda. Okay. We are on to we skipped the minutes. We've done John, so we are on to the select board vote for year-end transfer.
Okay, if you give me a minute, I will
If you have it
put
ready
it
too,
up
I can do my
online.
screen.
Okay.
Well, Becky's looking, I would just remind, we sort of skipped over the liaison assignments.
Oh,
up
we did.
Top there,
Oh.
just saying. So just put that in the
Liaison.
back of your
Okay.
mind.
We can do that toward the. Okay, noted.
That as part of the working session, or
Oh,
We
that's
could
actually
do
a
that
good
too.
idea for the work.
That's a great idea. That's
Yeah.
a good idea. That's even better idea.
And also maybe a schedule just across the year of when to expect a select board meeting just for planning, I
Yes,
guess.
that's
That would be
another great
great.
idea.
have a calendar.
Speaking of that, thank you everybody for meeting tonight, because I also wanted to change it to Wednesday night, because my schedule was all screwed up, but hopefully that would avoid that problem that with a year's worth of fun with the select board meetings.
But we didn't end up with too many adjustments last year that didn't work,
No.
No, we didn't.
we worked it out. Becky, do you have it ready? I can also pop up.
Here we go. Can everyone see it?
Mhm.
Yes,
Yeah.
or I can.
Okay, so the finance committee has already approved this at their meeting last week. So this year we are requesting, the year was, we've never gone through the full finance reserve by March of a year, March and April. This was an extraordinary year with lots of additional legal costs. The electricity, though we made it through, was, the rates went up 30%. We've had an extraordinary, we had a snow removal expenses that were higher than normal. Luckily, in combination with all that, we did our health insurance line was underspent by over $50,000, and that being the case, was able to replenish the finance committee reserve. But by the time all the meetings were done, it was close to the end of the year. So many of some of the transfers that weren't covered by finance reserve have moved to the year-end transfers. So I'd like to go through line by line just to make sure that if the select board has questions about anything, they have an opportunity to get their questions answered. So we'll start with, I will explain that number one was an overage on the assessor's clerk. The select board is well aware of the reason for that. Early on in the year, the administrative assessor was no longer active, and we were unable for quite some time to bring on an administrative assessor. We were able to get the assistance in our 5-year reval from Roy Bishop, and then we had the assistance of David Burgess, who has been extremely helpful through our, it felt like an emergency at the time, but everything worked out with all the assistance we got from David Burgess and Roy Bishop. So the first transfer for $6,209.16 is to fund the overage in the assessor's clerk account, with the money coming from the administrative assessor line. The second line is an overage in the training salaries for the fire department, and that was financed through the fire chief's salary, as you can see on the right-hand side, for $3,924.91. Any questions so far? No.
Why are those fire department salaries higher? Hopefully it's because we have more firefighters. I'm assuming that's probably why.
We do. We had 3 new firefighters appointed this year. And
Right.
and then the training account went over. We did not go over on the call account. The office supplies were over by $82.47. We are still experiencing some, increases in costs, especially paper, that contributed to that situation. The police cruiser maintenance account was over by just under $1,500 and was financed through the police wages account being underspent this year. The IT support account was over by an additional $923.75. The IT support line has become the new home to our Zoom account and Pantheon and other internet related costs. And we've worked to build those all into next year's IT support line. The legal account, the biggest budget buster, was over by $13,224.78. And this is not the first transfer into that line. I believe prior to this, we transferred $10,000, which takes the total of legal expenses this year to just under $40,000, a new landmark, unfortunately. The building and heating line was over by $8,825.43. This includes the propane refill to the school emergency generator, which had not been filled in a few years. So the true overage was just about $5,000. The fuel and gasoline line was over by $1,306. our rubbish and recycling account for hauling. I think we under budgeted, I believe, the contract here. So this was $5,000 over. The sanitary landfill was over by $1,000. The snow removal expenses were over by a total of $13,300. And given the state of our other accounts, we don't have that many large accounts that were available. So it was covered partially by the police wages. And then the second remaining portion of $7,800 was covered by the snow removal wages. All of these transfers totaled to $55,000, $55,295.55. Any questions from the select board? Rita?
So what's included in snow removal expenses? Because that seems like a big overage. I know we had that one last bad storm, but earlier it didn't seem like we'd had as much snow as some years.
It is sand and salt. And I think the issue is with sand and salt that even when we're not having snow, we're having a lot of ice. And the ice becomes a regular event in winters now. We used to have more ice storms, but we're consistently having ice problems. And the material costs had gone up this year as well.
Okay, thank you.
Eric, did you have any questions?
No, I'm good. Thank you. I'm fine.
I'm good. Okay. Do I hear a motion to approve the schedule of proposed budget transfers for fiscal year 2023?
So
So
moved.
move.
Okay.
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Carol, I.
Stalker, aye.
Make peace O'Neill, aye. Thank you, Becky, for all that great detail.
Thank you for approving the transfers.
All right. Now we are on to our update, Becky, on the fire station test and what our next steps are.
So part of our responsibilities with the fire station gasoline event that we have been working with for about 12 years now, is that we had to do for EDP's regular requirements. We did testing of the main well at the fire station. The well that we tested was at the point when we got our temporary solution. It was the only well out of 8 that was still had some residual numbers that we had to continue monitoring. So when we went to retest it, the assumption was that the numbers would again be lowered. But our experience from this initial round of testing for our opinion report was that the gasoline numbers had actually increased. So we are in conversation with the LSP, and he has outlined a process for retesting in a very controlled manner to get a clear picture of what is developing on site at the fire station. There is one piece of hopefulness in this current situation, that due to our PFAS problem, we have installed POETs at the carbon filtration systems at all the homes around the fire station. And Jeffrey Arps alerted me to the fact that the POETs, not only do they remove PFAS from the water, they also remove gasoline. So as we deal with this difficult situation at the fire station, at least we have have the knowledge that all the abutting residents have filtration systems in them. So that it was an unexpected surprise to have the fire station active again on our list of environmental issues. But we will continue to work on that and update the select board regularly as we figure it out. As the select board figures it out.
So I guess we should probably add those updates regularly on our agenda as well. Okay. All right. Moving on to town administrator updates. Becky.
Okay, I think
Culvert
there
and CPAS. At least
Yes.
that.
Yes, and the culvert, as everyone is well aware, project became active this last week. We now have in place the full closing of Locks Pond Road at the dam. The work that was supposed to transpire this week was to have the bypass waterway installed, and which, as well as to begin digging and tree cutting in the area. The elevated amount of rainfall has become an issue for the work to proceed. And at this point in time, we are getting a few days behind. There is monitoring being done daily, as always, by our dam keeper, and he is communicating with town officials as well as the contractor, so they can determine how to proceed with their work. We're hoping that the rain will settle down before August 1st. The second issue after the culvert is our PFAS updates. Last week, our technician from Ty and Bond, who takes the water samples, went to 9 homes. The majority of them were post-POET install tests. We check after the installations to be assured that the filters are working correctly. Those test results should be back in another week. And then we will have done all the pre and post installation testing. We do have 2 homes that we have not, 2 residents. One has 3 homes that we have not yet tested. We are working, we continue to work to try to make sure we have tested everyone. And that's my PFAS update. I do have one more update and question for the select board. The Concom cancellation that happened tonight and leads to the question of what the next steps should be. I'm recommended that the agenda item for the Concom be moved to next week, to the next select board meeting in 2 weeks. I had mentioned that in my response to Miriam's email when she alerted me to the fact that Concom would not be in attendance at the select board meeting tonight. And her response was she did not think a meeting between the select board and Concom was needed on this issue. That being the case, I'm looking to the select board to for guidance about what you think our next steps should be.
Becky, can you since I didn't print out the original agenda before it got changed. So the 3 things that we were going to talk to the Conservation Commission about were the gift fund, right? That they wanted to set up a gift fund for legal expenses, and to get authorization for additional legal?
Yes, they were asking for additional legal use that that you were going to discuss with them. And I think that select board also wanted to set a meeting to review McGregor's comments on not just the regulations, but potentially maybe also the bylaw, but to have a meeting with McGregor and Concom.
Okay, so can we just submit or can you send an email to them saying those are the 3 things that we had intended to discuss, and would do that at the next meeting? And if they don't have a quorum for that August 1st meeting, then can we consider doing another meeting just to address the Concom issues? Melissa, and Eric, does that make sense?
Yeah, I think we want to just basically say we have to have this meeting before we proceed with whatever, before we proceed with them getting more legal money, legal assistance, which is what they want, I think. And we have to know what they're specifically what that is, and we have to have that meeting with them about that, discussing that before we approve any funds, I think.
I agree with Eric, and is it one we would want to have McGregor at, do you think, or no? I'm Rita, you're more involved in that than I am.
Yeah, I think that the intent when we scheduled this was to just get concurrence from the Conservation Commission about having a meeting with McGregor, and at the time, if we had approved their outside counsel. So I think we need to talk about it with them before we have McGregor there, because that would be sort of a separate working session again with the Concom and the select board about the regulations and possibly the bylaw too. So,
Yeah, I agree with that.
All right.
So have the conversation first, and then have a working session.
Okay.
But
Yeah,
I think we want to make it clear, it's not our desire to not let them have the money. That's not the point of the whole thing. It's like, if the select board's going to be in charge of dispersing money for things like legal funds, legal fees, then we have to talk about it. We have to know what we're doing it for, and what are the limitations and so forth.
I also think, I mean, we heard from a couple of people tonight about wanting more public input and
Exactly.
public meetings around the regulations. So, maybe that gets communicated too.
Okay.
That I
and
might
more
even add
detailed
that.
explanation of them too.
Yeah,
Right.
I know it came up at the hearing as well as again tonight.
Okay. Thank you. That's clear direction. I appreciate it. Wanting more information. Okay, so that concludes my updates for tonight.
Can I just go back to the PFAS thing for 1 second? I mean,
Yes.
as I understand it, you're saying we have 2 more or 3 more houses to test, and then we're done. We've limited the amount of testing we're going to do at that point. Is that how you see it?
Yes, that should give us a clear picture for our, the map where we went out 500 feet, 500 feet.
Right. That's
down
what I mean.
Hill
Are we
Road.
at that? Yeah.
Yes.
Are we at that limit? Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Thanks. Just to clarify.
Thank you.
Okay. Was there anything else anyone had? Rita, Eric,
I'm good.
unexpected, nothing? Okay. Well, I guess we're at the point where we can entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor of adjourning this evening?
Farrell, I.
Stalker eye.
Makepeace O'Neill, aye.
Good
Thank
night,
you,
everybody.
everybody.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Good
Thank you.
night.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good night.